No. Let's do biggest winners and losers of the draft.
Okay.
Rookies.
Rookies. Okay.
Yeah, for rookies.
So I think perceived value-wise, I'd say probably Trey Lance is one of the top winners. Like San Fran gave up so much for him, but to be honest, I think that's perceived value. I think that's a little bit of bait, like as Frank likes to use, though, because I kind of pictured Trey Lance in Carolina. That's kind of where I like envision him going. So the difference between Carolina and San Fran is not a big difference for me. His value doesn't really increase. I'm still keeping him at my QB3. But I think we were seeing rookie mock drafts prior to the draft where Lance was falling into the mid to later first, like 106, 107 range. Now he's in the conversation for 102 when then you have those nuts being like, oh, he's 101. He's got the rushing upside. So I think he's the one that's probably
I don't understand the argument. Like Trevor Lawrence didn't just rush for 10 plus touchdowns.
So when we're talking about that, like, a jump from 107 to 101, I feel like is a much bigger jump than even like 301 to 112, in my opinion. So like, I think Lance is probably my biggest winner. How about you guys?
I agree with you about Lance is a huge winner. And I think, well, here's the thing with me for Lance. If you had him 106, 107 and jumped him off the 102, it's kind of crazy. I had him 103. And I think he has a fair case for 102. I understand it because of how pro QB friendly that 49ers offense is. But going to my next winner, I feel like you have to mention Michael Carter in that situation for winners. He's kind of entering a completely new coaching staff. They didn't really have Michael Pirine was there, but he was a 5th round pick last year.
Yeah, somewhere.
Didn't do too much his rookie year. I still like him, but I don't think he's an every down back. I think Michael Carter is going to have every opportunity to be just kind of like the full-time starter there. They selected him. People thought he was going to go in the 3rd. He ended up going beginning of the 4th. So I like his situation, and you've seen his fantasy stock go up like crazy. Like before, he was viewed as kind of a what was he before the draft? Maybe like a late second.
Consensus somewhere around there. I had him consensus 206, and I think he's now flown way past that.
Yeah, now he's like one of the he's like one of the top picks.
I can get his exact consensus pick in a second here.
What I was saying is now he's like one of the very top picks of the 2nd round.
Oh shit, he was 212 consensus.
Yeah, I've seen him in the 1st round, like 112.
And Trey Sermon was 211, so those guys have jumped a lot. I've been in a rookie draft just now where they went 201, 202, so they've just completely flopped spots in the 2nd round.
Yeah. It's because just because of the opportunity. I was gonna mention Michael Carter, and sorry if Trey Sermon was gonna be the person you say, Frank.
No.
Okay,
I think he's a clear winner, though. I mean, we can throw him into the Michael Carter bucket.
Yeah,
definitely a clear winner.
Mostert is kind of aging. I don't think he'll be the starter after this season, and we're all big fans of Trey Sermon. And the 49ers are never gonna have a thing where he's like a power horse, like 25 carry game back, but like he'll be someone who gets like 18, 19, 20 touches as the primary back in that offense. That is shown any of their backs they plug in there end up being productive. They put in Jeff Wilson, he's productive. They put in McKinnon, he's productive. Literally anything. So Trey Sermon going there is a really nice fit for him also. And I'm not surprised that those two have jumped a ton. They've jumped in my rankings also. I don't know if I'm taking them as early as like 201 because there are a lot of receivers I like there more, but definitely in like the mid-second.
Well, another guy I want to throw in there as well is Elijah Mitchell because he was, for me, he was a sleeper. Now I think, once again, that his consensus ADP has jumped even my valuation of him. I like what I saw on tape from him. I went over him on the draft stream a little bit, but just quick synopsis, he's got good balance, good hands. Okay, so my winner, this is going to be very biased here. It's going to sound very biased, but the two guys the Steelers took, I had already, like, late in the draft process, I started watching a lot of the tight ends, and I think the clear and obvious tight end 2 for me was Pat Freiermuth, a.k.a. the Muth. Pittsburgh is just such a phenomenal situation for him, in my opinion. I still think that the Muth is at a pretty decent price just because I really do think that like compared to Cole Kmet last year, that the Muth is a better prospect and really does have a shot to climb his way out of that wasteland. And then obviously Najee Harris. Najee Harris, he did definitely bump his stock up for me a little bit. I think that his ADP is still too high for me to take, but because he landed in Pittsburgh and he got that great draft capital, and I can really see how they're going to take advantage of his skill set, that I think it's a little bit better taking him with a top 5 pick than it was before the draft.
This isn't one of our list of topics, but I do want to touch on this with you guys really quick, because this has kind of been a debate. This wouldn't be the Superflex 101, but standard. It seems to consensus Najee Harris is now the standard 101 favorite, or just non-QB taken. At first, I thought, in Pittsburgh, yeah, but the more I think about it, I kind of still want to say Javonte. And I want to hear both of your cases, because I know both of you are on different ends of it. Just because for me, he's 2 years, and don't get me wrong, I think Najee's going to have the better year 1 production, and I think Najee's also going to be a really good running back. I think he's going to have multiple RB1 seasons in Pittsburgh, but I think Javonte's also going to have multiple RB1 seasons in his career. And again, I think Najee's going to get off to the better start immediately because he's not sharing the backfield like Javonte is in his first year. But I just look at Javonte, he's 2 years younger. He's in a situation where he won't be maybe the bell cow right away this year because of Melvin Gordon, but he'll have the opportunity probably the second half of the season and entering next year. And I did have him ranked higher, all three of us did, than Najee pre-draft. So I do want to hear your guys' thoughts on who you think. I'll just say the RB1 in rookie drafts.
So I think this segment has basically turned into what I'd consider like the bait, to use Frank's term, the bait segment, where it's we talked about Elijah Mitchell, Michael Carter, Trey Lance. Now we're talking about Najee Harris. Pat Fryermuth, I'm going to exclude for this.
Pat Fryermuth, I agree with you.
Yeah, you better not diss the fucking Muth, JT.
We agree. No, he's tight end too.
Yeah, but I think all these guys are the ones that are. I'm also excluding Trey Sermon because I was really high on Trey Sermon. I think people are just starting to put him around where I actually did value him prior to the draft. But where I'm going with this is we're just getting too hyped up on these players and their landing spots, and some of them I just don't think are that great. Where Najee Harris is the guy I've been harping on the whole time. I agree that Javonte is the RB. Like I'm firmly standing in the position now. Javonte is RB1. As far as 101, I'd probably still take Chase and Pitts over. Javonte.
That's why I switched it to fantasy RB1.
Yeah, but as far as RB1's concerned, I just the Broncos traded up to get Javonte Williams. Like Melvin Gordon's the only guy in front of him, and Melvin Gordon's on the last year of his contract. Like I'm not really concerned. I think he's the better prospect in my opinion. So Javonte's my RB1.
Do I need to answer this question? Or does every other podcast before this firmly cemented that I still think Javonte Williams is the RB1?
Yeah.
Also, what's a standard league? I don't know what that is.
it's from prehistoric times.
In Superflex, Javonte is still my running back 1. That was not going to change unless he went in like the 4th round.
Yeah. So moving on, biggest losers as far as the rookies are concerned. I've got a few in mind. So one of my biggest disappointments, someone I was hyping up, was Seth Williams. I was just praying this guy was going to get a 3rd round grade, because I've been trying to emphasize how much that 3rd round, like if you're drafted in a 3rd round, you have the same chance of hitting as like a 2nd round, even 1st round, other than the first like 10 picks or so. But he got drafted in the 6th round. It's just I can't. Moving on though, as far as other.
Wait, real quick, 2 more draft winners, real quick.
Okay.
What's his name? Actually, 3. I'm gonna go with 3.
Oh, just toss.
Josh Palmer. Clear draft winner there. I think that both like where his draft capital that he got, the scheme fit and the landing spot, in a good offense tied to Justin Herbert, the role that he should be asked to play, and kind of just everything about it. Like, his price is great right now. I think that Josh Palmer's a nice little pickup. Another guy I really liked before the draft, Desmond Fitzpatrick, landing in Tennessee. I think he's a very underrated landing spot. Another guy that you can pick up at the very end of your third, early fourth round of drafts.
I thought you were about to say. I thought you were about to say Rondale Moore. I like.
Well, Rondale Moore I really like, but I think that the landing spot was just like, like a B plus. It wasn't anything crazy. But the last one, the big one for me, is what's his name? Amari Rodgers, because I went from being this is the one player with all this landing spot talk, because I liked Carter and Sermon before the draft. Their valuations really haven't changed for me from like that mid-early second. Amari Rodgers, though, in Green Bay, if Aaron Rodgers is there, is like, it really feels like Randall Cobb 2.0, and I do really like his stock and his fit. I think that he's someone that I went from being off the train to now back on the train. Now we can go into more losers. Okay. Unless you guys want to touch on one of them.
There were a ton of winners, I thought, from the draft. I think Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Nico Collins are both in situations where they can get on the field immediately.
Okay.
Kind of an empty receiver course. I like Devontae Smith's because he's pretty much walks into the building and is the wide receiver one on day one, which is not the case for a lot of rookies. I thought the one interesting thing with this draft was, for a lot of the skill players, I didn't think there were a ton of bad landing spots. Like, even the one I'm going to say is my bad landing spot isn't really a bad one. I just saw a lot of them ended up in good situations. Like, people are kind of criticizing, like, oh, Etienne's with James Robinson. I'm not worried about Etienne. They spent a first-round pick on him. They're going to use him like a first-round pick. And he's the more talented running back.
Real quick, though, one person I'll add, and then we'll just dive right into Etienne then. The one other guy I'll add is Ramondre Stevenson. He's someone that, like, I was decently into prior to the draft, but I think, again, picked up in, I think it was the fourth by the Patriots. It definitely gives him more value to me. Overall, though, I'm trying really hard not to overhype guys based on where they've landed. It's difficult at times, but I'm trying to keep myself from hyping them up too much. Then just completely transitioning into what we were talking about, Etienne. I hate this for him. I hate Etienne.
Really?
Yeah. My thing about it is, like, I still think James Robinson's actually, like, I know he was undrafted, and we've got Urban Meyer, a new coach who doesn't have any ties to James Robinson, but I think James Robinson's still a really good back, where Etienne probably could have ended up on most other teams, I feel like, and have been had a better shot.
That's the thing. I don't think he's a winner, because I do agree with you. There were a ton of the landing spots that would have been better. I would have been way happier if he was in, like, Miami or something, or like Atlanta. But I'm not. I think, because people do have the same kind of idea as you, and people are kind of fading him a little bit. I'm not too worried. Because, like you mentioned, they have no ties to James Robinson, even though he had a great year last year. And I think it's going to kind of be what you saw in New Orleans with Kamara and Mark Ingram, or Kamara and Latavius Murray, in terms of just Etienne playing that Kamara role.
I don't know. I just have a tough time, because I think that while Etienne probably will gain the lead back role and will be the starter, I don't think James Robinson's ever going away. So you're going to have split touches, and then you're going to have to rely on Etienne's receiving work. And Frank was saying earlier, Najee Harris is probably the better receiving back of the two. It kind of further separates Etienne from that cream of the crop kind of landing zone, where Javonte is my firm running back one, and then I still think I have Etienne over Najee Harris, but now it's like super close with RB2 and RB3.
I don't know. I don't think Etienne's stock for me has gone down. I think it's a good system. I didn't view Etienne as a back that could really handle that bell cow-esque workload in terms of just feeding him the ball 20 to 25 times and having success. So splitting carries with another running back, I don't really think is a problem. As long as he's able to get the necessary amount of targets in the passing game, I think that's what matters more for me than the volume of carries. I just need him to get 10 to 13 carries a game with another 6 to 5 catches, that's a very healthy workload, and I'm not sure he's going to get that, but that's what I'm more interested in is in these PPR leagues. Give me all those receiving points. He's got the chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. I actually like the landing spot for ETN, but I don't think his price has really risen or lowered for me. I think he's still my clear RB3. I think the gap has, risen for me with Najee, but still late first round pick. If I need a running back, I would be pretty happy with any one of the three with like a late first round selection.
I just think we can all agree that it's likely that Trevor Lawrence is going to be the day one opening starter, right? Like I think you pick him 101, he's going to be
you didn't pick him one to be on the bench.
Yeah. So you're putting a lot of faith in that rookie quarterback to feed. There's a lot of mouths on this team, like a lot of offensive players that are looking to get the ball, and I'm just not sure if that target share and carry share is going to be available for ETN to be like a solid performer that I think Javonte will, albeit maybe not this year. I just think Javonte has a better chance in the future than ETN because you have DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault. Laviska Shenault can do a lot of things that, like catching it out, behind the line of scrimmage and stuff that you kind of expect ETN to do. You still have James Robinson. You brought in Marvin Jones. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in this team. All right, we can move on though to some other losers. I mean, Frank,
I've got a whole slew of losers,
right.
and
just toss out a bunch. And I'll say what I agree.
This goes to basically what was the depth of this receiver class that just got the floor taken out from under it. The list just goes on. So I'm just going to list them all out: Marquez Stevenson, Cade Johnson, Tamarion Terry, Austin Watkins, Amir Smith-Marset, Myron Mitchell, like you said earlier, Seth Williams, Sage Surratt, Trey Nixon, Trayvon Grimes, Simi Fehoko, Jonathan Adams Jr., Josh Imatorbhebhe, Cornell Powell. There's even more. You can just keep going. None of these guys really got third round, fourth round, even fifth round draft capital, which is a big problem. Guys like Austin Watkins, Tamarion Terry, Cade Johnson especially, were players that looked to be taken late day 2, early day 3, and they were undrafted. So it just took a lot of that great depth that we thought we had at this receiver class completely out from it. These were dudes that looked to be those late third round, early fourth round kind of guys that now you're really even questioning spending a draft pick on.
That's fair. Yeah. I was just going to say, well, I do think their draft capital hurt them. There were two names that stuck out that I'm just generally keeping my eye on. I'm keeping my eye on Powell just because it's so cliche, but anytime a receiver is on the Chiefs, I'm just going to have my eye out for them. I'm not going to spend a high pick on them or anything, but it's something that I pay attention to. And
that is the massive bait.
It's not bait if I'm spending. It's not bait if I'm spending like a late fourth on him. I guess
if you have a roster spot.
I mean,
yeah. Right.
And I thought Trayvon Grimes was interesting just because I think he's gonna make the roster.
The Florida boy.
And that's a Florida Eagle, right?
It is a Florida Eagle.
That's the freaking that's the big whammy.
Because my thing with that is this. Rager, out of the top 3 receivers, Rager has a spot locked up. Devontae Smith has a spot locked up. The third spot, hypothetically, all you really need to beat is Travis Fulgham or John Hightower. And I don't really think that's the apex of competition.
That's fair. I don't know. I'm kind of fading all of those. The only one that I'll consider is Tamarion Terry.
I'm not drafting any in like the first.
Yeah, I'm not drafting any of those guys at all. The only one I'd consider is Tamorian Terry. That's someone I was higher on than consensus going into the draft. I mean, he's the one that I think fell because of character concerns. Like, he quit on the FSU team. Like, there's no way around it. And
I would quit too.
Yeah, not only did he quit though, like he was supposed to be like preparing for the pro day and whatever, and then he didn't like test that great. But I think, you know, typically the guys that go undrafted that end up performing, like, I'm not going to say all the time, but there's a streak of like players that had character concerns, and they're the ones that actually like fell in the draft and end up actually producing something. So Tamora and Terry is probably the one that I'd be looking at out of those guys. But I agree, Frank. Most they're all.
Do you have anyone who is going to be, we'll say, like a top 2 round in?
Yeah, I've got some. Okay, well, maybe not necessarily top 2, but guys that I thought had very good potential to be in the top 2.
Okay.
And I really like both of these guys. The first one is my dear boy, Kellen Mond, mainly because now I think that his stock in terms of consensus may have rose. But for me,
my board a little bit.
This was a guy that I legitimately thought could get that very late first round, even like mid first round, second round, like decent second round draft capital. He went in the third. So, like JT kind of alludes to, you're a third round quarterback. It doesn't really matter how much talent you have. The NFL has gotten better with later round quarterbacks, it seems like. Even though I like Kellen Mond and I still am targeting him in a bunch of leagues, I do not have the initial valuation I had on him. The other one is Khalil Herbert. I really was hoping for Khalil Herbert to land early day 3, very late day 2 to a team like the Falcons in that Arthur Smith zone-heavy scheme that he ran with the Titans. I thought it was a really good fit for Khalil Herbert. They had plenty of chances to take Khalil Herbert, and they passed on him every single time. So now he lands up as the Bears' backup running back. That really killed Khalil Herbert for me. He goes from being a potential early third round pick to now a dart throw in like the late third, early fourth, more likely, honestly.
Yeah. My other one loser, I'll fade real quick. And then I guess we could give some more insight, is Tylan Wallace. Tylan Wallace, I forget how you pronounce it.
I don't know if it's actually Thielen, or I'm like 90% sure it's Tylan. But can we just make a pact that you never say Tylan Wallace ever again?
Tylan Wallace. Sure, I corrected myself. We could calm down on that one. We don't need to get on my throat yet. This is a guy that Jake loved. I wish he was on here because he was clowning me for some of my guys going in like the third round.
Both of you deserve to be clowned.
But Tylan Wallace, get out here, Lounis. You're the one with the clown face. Tylan Wallace he went in the fourth round. As I said, like once you're out of the third round and you're a day 3 prospect, your chances of hitting are a lot less. The only thing that's keeping me from really sending him down my board though is like I'm pretty sure it's medical history that caused him to drop. So that's another one of the ones where I'm willing to make like a slight exception and not drop him all the way down to where I think he should be. But Jake's still out here saying like, oh, hot take, I think he'll outproduce Rashad Bateman. Like, no shot, Jake. I'm sorry. No shot.
Okay, both of you are gonna die swinging your sword. I gotta say mine. I haven't said mine.
Yeah, say yours.
Okay, so this is one that's bold because I was trying to think of one out of the top prospects, and I don't think any of the top prospects really had a bad one, but this is just the one I'm picking out of the top guys. Because Frank, you listed a bunch of like the lower round guys that I would agree with, especially Khalil Herbert. And I know you guys are gonna disagree, and I still believe in his talent. I still like him a lot, but I had to put a ton of disclaimer. I really didn't like Diami Brown's landing spot.
No, okay, here, Lounis.
In Washington. If you tell me, maybe if they have, I want to see the quarterback situation after Fitzpatrick, but you have 2 young receivers who are going to be there for a while, and I don't think either one of them are letting up their 1 or 2 spot. I think part of it is just kind of also the respect I have for Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, that's the only reason. That is not what that is. Your look for Curtis Samuel is the reason why you think it's a bad landing.
Exactly. Spot. Yeah. Curtis Samuel and Diami Brown are completely different wide receivers. Like,
kind
of targets that they're getting are totally different. Like, I'd be more concerned if I was
different
Antonio.
types. They're different types. I'm saying, do you see Diami Brown becoming overtaking Curtis Samuel as that wide receiver too?
Let me put it like this.
Well, it'll be the outside wide receiver.
If Curtis Samuel is so good, why did the Panthers let him go?
Because they couldn't afford to pay their another top receiver that much money, and Washington paid him a ton.
So they decided that the other guys were more worth it to pay than Curtis Samuel.
Well, I don't think Robbie Anderson's better than Curtis Samuel. And I'm a Temple homer.
They're different guys too.
And again, I'm not talking about body type. Obviously, I mean, Curtis Samuel, you can kind of put all over the field. He was playing on the outside a lot. And if you watch his tape, it was a travesty what Kyle Allen did to him in terms of how many times he missed him deep.
I think,
and I have the tape on that. But
I think, Lounis, when we're talking about that, like, I think Diami Brown's not really competing with Curtis Samuel for targets. Like, I think it's Curtis Samuel and Antonio Gibson are going to be the ones that are compete, and J.D. McKissick. I think you'll just see J.D. McKissick probably fade away, because there was J.D. McKissick at times. He got 10 targets a game at some points. I don't know what his average was, probably around 6. So, you have that to spread around. You have some targets to take away from Antonio Gibson too, I believe. Plus, you're putting in a gunslinger in Ryan Fitzpatrick instead.
That's what I'm saying. I think people forget how good of a deep route runner Curtis Samuel is, because the past 2 years he hasn't really had a quarterback that likes to sling it like that. I think he's one of the better deep route runners in the NFL. I just think he's someone. Again, they're very different body types of receivers. I'm talking about production. Those yards have to go somewhere in order. Terry McLaurin's the wide receiver 1. Curtis Samuel, I think, is going to be the second most productive. Logan Thomas is going to have some production. I don't think anything crazy, but he's going to get some looks. And Curtis Samuel and McKissick are receiving backs. I love Diami Brown. I think he'll still be decent, but that was not the landing spot I was hoping for. There were a ton of other landing spots I would have liked a lot more than Washington.
I really don't hate the Washington one. I still love Diami Brown there. I don't know if I liked him a lot.
I'm just saying there were so many other teams I would have liked way more. Washington, I was like, eh.
Yeah, I think there's other teams I would have liked a lot more. Maybe it bumps the stock down a little bit, but I think for his ADP right now, Diami Brown is an unbelievably good buy.
I agree.
What's his ADP at right now?
Late second.
Late second.
Oh.
I saw one draft he went 308. I don't think that's where he's actually.
And I still think in a 1-for-1 deal, I would rather have Diami Brown than Curtis Samuel.
I agree.
I really don't think it's that ridiculous of a take.
That's where I disagree with. I really do think Curtis Samuel hasn't been able to show his full skill set yet, just because of his quarterback play the last 3 years, honestly.
Okay, Loon. Okay.
We'll see.
That's what I said about DJ Moore, and you guys trashed me for that.
I didn't trash you for the DJ Moore thing.
They're on the same fucking team.
Yeah.
and one produced and one, not that he didn't produce, it's just
didn't produce.
Had over 1,000 total yards last year, scrimmage yards.